Hello and welcome to Connected episode 307. It is made possible this week by our sponsors, Squarespace, ExpressVPN, and Mint Mobile. My name is Stephen Hackett and I am joined by Mr. Myke Hurley.
Hello.
How are you?
Fine. Warm. Fine and warm.
Fine and warm. Like a baby wrapped in cloth or a fresh loaf of bread.
I prefer a loaf of bread, but yes, I'm like a fresh baked loaf of bread over here.
And we're also joined by Federico Vitici.
Hello. Hi.
I guess you're also probably warm. Everyone's warm.
I am like a hot slice of pizza, and all the mozzarella is melted on top of it.
Oh. Wait. No, that's fine. It's fine to have the mozzarella melted. That's fine.
Yeah.
What's a melting situation that's not good in Italian food?
A melting situation. Well,
a melted tiramisu.
A melted tiramisu. I was about to say a melted gelato, where all the different flavors have mixed together. Also very bad.
Yeah. Doesn't sound good.
It's terrible. Not good. Not good.
Oh boy. We have some very important follow-up. Last week we spoke about the company TIBCO. Somehow, I don't remember how.
They were, so I was trying to think of this. They were a company that sued Apple for something.
That's right. Yes, I think so. Anyways, and we said, oh, they are real. Turns out not only are they real, but they're a sponsor of at least one F1 team.
They had Rendezvous. So Kim wrote in, which is it's just the kind of coincidence that like makes you wonder if you live in a simulation. That my favorite racing driver, Lewis Hamilton, on his helmet is the brand TIBCO. They are a sponsor of the Mercedes F1 team. It's like what kind of world do we live in where some kind of coincidence like that can occur? But because it's like I'd never heard of this company, I'd never seen this logo before, but yet I have seen this logo a lot.
I wonder if BlaBlaCar sponsors any F1 teams.
They don't, but that I know of.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
What do I know?
Last week, Federico, you spoke about the COVID notification you got saying that you were all fine, which again, I agree is a bad notification.
Bad.
But some other people wrote in. Simon said they had also received this notification, and like you, they basically had a heart attack when they saw it. And it turns out that this is part of the OS. We were debating that or not, or something like the app you had in it force it. It is part of Apple's exposure notification framework, and that's what provides all the information of encounters with app users, and eventually, whenever phase 2 comes, just with the user directly without an app necessarily installed. So
I saw in the news today that our app in England is going into testing.
The
one based
nice.
on Google and Apple's thing. So maybe in a couple of weeks we'll have it set up.
That's cool.
Well, I mean, it will be cool for me to get all of those terrifying.
Wait,
I haven't gotten any more of those, by the way.
That's
only
good.
one time. So yeah.
Well, maybe it just hasn't been a week yet. It was a weekly update, wasn't it?
Oh, it hasn't been a week then, I guess.
Yeah.
You're.
And
Oh my god.
as is everything in life, there was an XKCD comic.
Obviously.
About exposure notifications since our last episode, because you would assume similar thing happened to the XKCD person. And it's just the notification says, "Good news! You recently had close contact with someone who was not tested positive for COVID." It's just very funny. It's
really like I get it that you're trying to give me good news, but just it's the fact that I'm seeing that notification that's
because it's the double speak of it, right? Like you recently had close contact with someone who has not tested positive for COVID.
Yeah, it's like I really feel like these apps and these systems should be designed in a way that no news is good news, and the moment that you give me a notification, like my heart is gonna skip a beat no matter what.
It's like what it should be like is like those wild weather alert systems that you have in America.
Just let me know when something really bad has happened or is about to happen.
Yeah, it's like you don't get a notification every day like, weather's fine! Like, that doesn't happen.
Like, exclamation mark, the weather is sunny. Like, okay.
it's all good. Like it doesn't,
Like imagine getting like one of those. What are they called? Like the US alerts for like kidnapped people.
Yeah, Amber Alert.
Imagine getting like an Amber Alert that says nobody's has been kidnapped. And like, okay,
no crime.
no crime. Good news. We couldn't find any crimes around you.
Children are all safe.
We looked really hard, but it's all good.
So yeah, I mean, I appreciate the weekly update. I just wish that it wasn't on by default. Like, I can imagine why there may be some people may actually like the idea of a weekly update. It's just the idea of it being on by default and the fact that I didn't even know that it was on that surprised me in a very bad way.
I kind of assume that at some point in the future I will get like a tandem notification. Like one is screen time telling me I used my phone too much, and then the next one is the COVID app telling me that like I'm fine. Like I could just those two like things. I was like, oh god, it's like a 1-2 punch for me.
Yeah.
Screen time.
Do you guys still use it?
This is my question. Screen time.
You just said the words in a high-pitched voice. That's not a question. Screen time?
Yeah, it was like a eureka moment.
It was more like, it wasn't really a question. It was more like, I've created a subheading, which is screen time. And then my question was going to be, do you do anything with screen time?
Not anymore. And I feel like that's the kind of feature that was the result of like conversations that we would have on the internet and on social media a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really feel like it was to go back to something that we mentioned in the pre-show, which, by the way, only Connected Pro listeners can get access to. Where can people go? Where can people go, Myke, if they want to sign up for Connected Pro?
Go to
no, come on.
Wait, connectedpro.co. That's where you go. Connectedpro.co. And you can sign up $5 a month and you get more content and no ads.
So I really feel like screen time and sort of this like quality of life features around notifications, but especially screen time and the idea of we're spending too much time looking at our phones. Like that feature was the byproduct of changes in social media a few years ago, namely starting in 2016 with the political situation and landscape changing in the US. We started spending, of course, a lot of time on social media, being horrified by what we were seeing on social media and on the news in general. And then I guess it was only natural to say, well, maybe we need to curb, this time that we're spending on our phones because it's not good for us. And therefore, initiatives like screen time were born a couple of years ago. And I feel like we are now moving past that because maybe we just learned to accept that everything is horrible. And it's like, yeah, we're looking at our phones anyway. Get off my back, screen time. I'm just going to look at my phone and, at least I get to talk to my friends, especially now with the pandemic and everything. Like, yeah, I don't care. I'm going to spend 5 hours on my phone because I'm chatting and FaceTiming with my friends. Like, I don't need your judgment, screen time. So I think it still has a place for families and for parental controls, not so much for individuals like us, maybe.
So I've just opened screen time and have noticed that since I've been using this Mac Mini on Catalina, that data is coming in here, which is new to me, right? Like, this is the first time a Mac has ever, reported into my screen time. And I have things that are very confusing to me, like that on Wednesday, I had activity in the music app for 7.5 hours, and I don't know how that is possible. That doesn't seem like something that I would have done. So, I'm really kind of puzzled now. But also, the funny thing is, because I now have it on my Mac, can you guess what application is dominant, vastly dominant for me in screen time?
Finder.
Apple News.
Can we both of you take more serious guesses?
Okay.
Logic.
No, it's not going to be Logic, otherwise you wouldn't have asked the question. Safari.
OmniFocus.
Skype.
Skype.
Okay.
Skype.
Oh, okay. I have screen time turned off on my Mac Pro. Turn on.
Well, I guess it makes sense. You host 20 podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I would love more information about that music group thing, though. I don't understand how that happened.
I would say the screen time is a really cool widget in iOS 14.
Does it?
Yeah, there's a lot of like there's a graph in there. There's like multiple sections. It's really nicely done. Like a it's basically the screen time page, but in a widget, and especially in the large version of the widget, it's really quite impressive, graphically speaking.
I just came across something which is hilarious. You can, pickups.
Yeah.
Like you can see how many pickups, right?
Yeah.
Device pickups you've had.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, I pick up my Mac. I had 9 device pickups.
Yeah, I think that's wake from sleep is how they do it, but they didn't.
I'm sure
the
that's
text.
what it means, but that it shouldn't be called pickups, which is just kind of hilarious.
Yeah. Well, you need a computer
called-
with handles and wheels,
Then you can pick it up.
We've talked about this before. All electronics should have a handle like the GameCube or wheels like the Mac Pro.
Yeah.
So,
Can I talk
I
about
agree
Mac
with
Pro
you.
wheels?
Sure.
Why don't we take a break first, and then you can talk about Mac Pro wheels.
Just chucking and jiving all over the place here.
Yep, moving things along.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by Squarespace. Make your next move with Squarespace. It lets you easily create a website for your next idea with unique domain name, award-winning templates, and more. Maybe you need an online store, or you need to host a portfolio, or you want to write a blog. Well, Squarespace is the all-in-one platform that lets you do all of that stuff on a single website. And there's nothing to install, no server patches to worry about, no upgrades are needed. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff because Squarespace has got it covered. They have award-winning 24/7 customer support if you need any help. Lets you quickly and easily grab a unique domain name, and all of those award-winning templates are beautifully designed for you to show off your great ideas. One of my favorite things about Squarespace is that you can hand the keys to somebody and they can update the content, add all sorts of texts and photos and embed videos, do all this stuff, and they can't break the site because Squarespace has a really great content editor. And you can't get in a situation where you've uploaded a photo and suddenly it's twice as wide as the page. Squarespace just manages all that for you. Their plans start at just $12 a month, but you can start a trial with no credit card required by going to squarespace.com/connected. When you decide to sign up, use the offer code CONNECTED to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain name and to show your support for the show. Once again, that's squarespace.com/connected and the code CONNECTED to get 10% off your first purchase. I'd like to thank Squarespace for their support of the show and Relay FM. Squarespace, make your next move, make your next website.
Tell us about Mac Pro wheels. Did you buy a $700 set of wheels? Is that what you're telling us? Is that how much they cost? $7?
I did not. I did not do that. But OWC has announced a product called Rover Pro. And what these are, it's a set of 4 wheels, and they have a collar, and they have like the wheel part, and it goes over the foot of your Mac Pro. So you don't have to like take it apart and take the feet apart with a weird screwdriver. They just screw over the feet, and they're all made of metal, and the wheels look really nice. They're going to be $249 for the set, or $200 if you pre-order, and get this, it comes with a set of wheel stops, unlike Apple's $700 wheels.
Coming with a set of wheel stops is nice, but I think it would have been better if they would have put a brake on the wheel.
I do too, because you have to kind of like pick up the Mac Pro to get it out of the wheel stop a little bit.
Oh, they're like chocks, right? So you could just like tilt it and put it in there, right?
Yeah, I think so. I definitely pre-ordered a set because I want to do a video on them. And it's not $700. I was not going to do that. So this is exciting. I think it looks really nice. OWC makes nice stuff. They look really nice.
Have you considered that maybe like the better video is comparing?
Look, man, we're really trying to get you to buy those wheels.
We're just waiting to buy the really wheels.
We really want you to buy them.
Because now if you do it to compare them, you will have spent $200 more than you needed to.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, no, that wasn't lost on me.
Yeah, because then you've bought both sets of wheels.
But you're saying a comparison video is a good idea, is what you're saying.
A comparison video is the best idea.
Think so?
Yeah. Because what? You're like, oh, I got these wheels, and now it's got wheels, right? Hooray. But now, if you're able to compare and say like, oh, now I've used Apple's wheels, and the OWC wheels, I can say that the OWC wheels are better for what you're getting. But you might say, you know what? Now I've used Apple's wheels. I would prefer to spend the extra $500 and get a superior experience. Or, who knows?
That is a good point.
Mm-hmm. This Mac Pro is becoming, like, for everyone that owns it, like, just an absolute money pit.
Yeah.
Everyone that I know that bought one of these things continues to spend money on it constantly. Apple are geniuses, right? They made everybody wait, charged them way too much for the computer itself, and then continue to like get more money out of these people constantly.
You still gotta give them money
because these are also the same people that can't help themselves, right? And they want to keep spending money on their computer. Yeah, buying a Mac Pro is like buying a house. It costs way more money than you think it will, and then you can't stop renovating it.
It's true.
It's very good. Very good analogy.
And then, like, you buy an expensive display, and that's like paving the pathway and putting a new roof on the garage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, you just keep going and going and going forever.
We'll see what video comes out the other end.
I guess we will. Did you buy one of those expensive cables?
What expensive cables?
They're like $129 USB-C cable.
Does a $129 USB-C cable?
The fabric wrap Thunderbolt one?
Basically, Apple made a USB-C cable that eliminates the question of what USB-C cable should I buy to get all the features I need.
No, it's the Thunderbolt cable that comes with the Pro Display. They just have it sold separately now.
No, but it's like it removes like is this one going to work with my eGPU or not? Or is this one going to, like, that's what this cable gives you, right? Like, it does 40 gigabit a second data transfer. It's USB 3.1 Gen 2. Is that super speed? Did that get named?
I forget what they call what.
Well, anyway, it's a really expensive USB Thunderbolt 3 cable that if you buy, you can, I don't know, feel like you got everything you needed. I don't know.
Can you also use it like as a rope? Like besides, as data transfer?
Probably.
At least you can justify the expense. Like if you need to, I don't know. Steven, you have a pickup truck. You can do something with that cable,
I mean, if it's anything like the power cable in the Mac Pro, it's really nice. But
you don't have it.
No.
Right.
Not as a standalone.
But you've looked on. You have considered the option. Though.
I mean, I printed the page and like taped it on the inside of my wallet. But
one day.
Yeah, it's a goal.
I'm looking at the picture now.
Goals.
It's a very nice cable indeed.
It is a very nice cable. All right, moving on just quickly. watchOS 7 and Big Sur public betas are out. This happened right after we recorded last week. Jason has a first look at the Big Sur public beta. It's it's Big Sur. We've been talking about it. The public beta was delayed for whatever reason. Apple hasn't been really clear on why, but it's here now. And watchOS 7 is here as well. I have no interest in touching the watchOS 7 beta at this point with no Apple Store open. So I'm going to leave the watch on watchOS 6 until it comes out.
Yeah, I'm on the watchOS 7 beta.
Okay.
I think it's better than the iOS 14 beta on my phone. That's what I'm gonna say.
Well, look at we spoke about this last time. Like the beta has gotten worse this round. We don't know why, but it had been okay. But the watchOS 7 beta feels stable.
It feels okay to me.
And this is the public or developer beta for
developer beta. I'm not on
the Dave. Dave's been bad to you.
Dave. So is that like Dave Beta 4 for the watch?
I think so.
And have you been running the watchOS 7 beta since the
beta
beginning
1?
too?
Yes.
Okay, I couldn't remember if that was the case. Do you have any takeaways from watchOS 7 so far?
Not really. I think what I've noticed so far is that adding and managing complications is a lot nicer on the watch face.
Okay.
Just because it's like the whole edit screen is different now, and like all the pages have been redesigned, and for each complication they are grouped in sections. So like the same app can offer multiple complications, and when you go into that screen, they're all nicely grouped together. So it's very nice to choose between multiple complications for the same app. So that's very cool.
That sounds a little bit like the widget thing on iOS.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's really kind of like that. You open a configuration page and each app can have multiple things assigned to it.
Is it better to have set them up in the phone app or on the watch?
I think it's actually nicer to do so on the watch now.
Huh.
Because it's just more like you see an actual preview of the complication in there.
Okay.
So I think it's a lot nicer to do on the watch. Okay. Something that I don't like is that due to the removal of Force Touch, we mentioned this before, clearing all notifications now on the watch, like clearing all notifications at once is kind of terrible, because you need to scroll all the way to the top of the notification list to find the clear button. This button should really be at the bottom, because I always forget to dismiss notifications as they come in. And so later I have to scroll to find this button at the top of the list. And what is nice, I think also, like what I've noticed is that obviously shortcuts. Shortcuts is on the watch. So I've assigned a couple of shortcuts that I can run directly on the watch. So that's cool. And I'm still playing around.
What does that mean? Like, can you explain that to me?
So there's a shortcuts app, first of all. So like you can actually run shortcuts directly on the watch. So that's nice. And other shortcuts you can install as complications. So you can put a complication for a specific shortcut on your watch face. And when you tap it, it opens the shortcuts app and runs the shortcut on the watch. It doesn't run on the phone, right? It runs on the watch itself. So like it can present lists and show you data or create reminders in my case, like that kind of stuff. It happens directly on the watch. So like I've been playing around with the idea of creating HomeKit complications, for example, to control specific accessories. Yeah. Or I have these reminders shortcuts that give me lists of tasks, and those can run on the watch as complications.
But I assume there's like limits to that, right? Like not every shortcut that I can run on my phone could run on the watch, surely.
I think it will be possible.
But what if like a app doesn't have a watch app?
So Apple basically presented like 3 different possible scenarios, and the app that doesn't have a watch counterpart is one of them. In that case, it will fall back to the phone. But it's also possible, like one of the scenarios is that if you have an iPhone, so if you have a shortcut that requires a shortcuts action for a third-party app, and if that app has a watch version, they can support shortcuts, and they can support, thanks to parameters, they can run directly on the watch without taking you to the phone at all. So it's totally possible for developers to make actions that run. Yeah.
I can't get my head around that.
So like if you have, like, for example, let's just say that OmniFocus makes a watch app that runs on watchOS 7.
Okay.
And you create a shortcut, right, that uses an OmniFocus action to do something. If OmniFocus is up to, uses the latest stuff in watchOS 7 and shortcuts, it'll run directly on the watch. So if you install it on the watch and say you have an action that creates, I don't know, a task in OmniFocus with a specific due date or something, it'll run on the watch.
But so then what if so then in that same instance, right, say I had an OmniFocus shortcut, but OmniFocus didn't have a watch app.
You run it on the watch and it'll say continue on your iPhone.
And if my iPhone is in location, would it still do it, or would it be like you know what I mean? Like if my phone was near my watch and they were connected, would it still run the shortcut on my watch?
No, I think it'll tell you to continue on the phone.
Okay, so it has to use the new shortcut stuff for it to happen on the watch.
For it to run independently, I think it needs to be on the watch. Like you need to, and I need to look into this again.
And independently means See, this is where watch independence as a phrase has become really complicated because it means multiple things now depending on what year you're in.
Mm-hmm.
So independently for shortcuts means like the phone is not involved at all, right?
Yeah, so let's say you're out for a run and you have a shortcut on your watch and that shortcut involves a third-party action. My understanding of this, and I need to look into this again because I'm not writing about shortcuts on the watch, obviously. But I think the way that it works is if you have the watch app installed and if the watch app runs on watchOS 7 and supports modern shortcut actions with parameters, it'll run on the watch, even if the phone is not nearby. I think that's the way it works.
Like maybe this just comes from me not using an Apple Watch regularly enough, and I reckon it probably is that. But like I still kind of can't get my head around the idea of the Apple Watch as an independent computer of its own. It still feels very much to me like when I think of the Apple Watch, like it needs the phone. So like when I hear things like that, I'm kind of like, wait, really? Because I know that there's like things the watch has been able to do for a while, like you can put music on it and stuff, right? But I think this comes from the last time that I was using my Apple Watch was the first time that Apple said that the Apple Watch could do things independently, and it couldn't really, right? Like when they put LTE on the watch, right? And it was like, oh, it'll be fine now, but everything took like a million years to load still, right? Like it almost felt like the original Apple Watch again.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess now it seems like that. So like it's responsive and stuff when it's doing that, when it's running those shortcuts, you've found?
I think it's pretty good, honestly. Like they run reasonably fast. And like some stuff that involves like, for example, fetching like a lot of reminders lists all at once and presenting lists like to choose from. Mm-hmm. It takes a few, like it's a bit slower than the phone, obviously. But also, like, I'm not having a great experience with shortcuts on the phone at the moment either.
No.
So,
no, it's a little. Anything menu or list related is what?
Or typing in messages, or using the camera, or.
Well, okay, but like specifically about shortcuts. But yes, there are problems throughout the current Dave.
Shortcuts right now, you cannot on the iPad, you cannot even press Command Return to like confirm text in an alert. Like it used to be that shortcuts would bring up an alert and you would type text into the box and you would just do like in any other app, you would do Command Return to dismiss the alert, right? It doesn't work right now. And if you press return, I think it dims the screen or something like that. Like it's super broken at the moment.
It's kind of like shh.
It's like you're not supposed to do this yet. Go back to whatever it is you were doing. Yeah. But I think like, so my summary of watchOS 7 is I've tried the hand washing reminder stuff. Mm-hmm. It was cool for a couple of hours. And then it started telling me to wash my hands when I was doing like random things like, grating my Parmigiano cheese, for example.
But I thought they spent years on that.
Sure, maybe they should have grated more Parmigiano. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. But it was picking up a lot of false positives. So I disabled that. And I don't know what else is new, really. The complication stuff I've noticed, shortcuts I've noticed. I guess there's going to be like changes.
Have you looked at the sleep tracking?
No, because I found it to be really... I have a couple of problems with that. First is the idea of winding down. It doesn't really work for me. My sleep schedule is too irregular, especially in the summer.
Yeah.
Like I'm going out with friends and like sometimes I'm coming back home at 1, other days I'm coming back home at 3 a.m. Like the idea of winding down at a specific time doesn't really work for me. Also,
can
I'm not
you
the type
not
of...
like say to the phone like start wind down now?
You can. Well, no, you gotta set a time, right? You gotta have a schedule.
Yeah.
So that doesn't really work for me. And also, I'm not the type of person who needs a wind down routine. Like when I'm tired, I'm just gonna sleep. Like I turn to one side of the bed that I really like and I sleep, and I fall asleep like in 5 minutes. I don't need listen to a podcast before sleeping. I find really curious as an idea because then you fall asleep and you don't listen to the podcast. So it kind of defeats the purpose of it.
But what that's about, though, Federico, is there is a whole genre of podcasts called sleep podcasts where all you're supposed to do is like you listen to this to help you go to sleep.
How do they make money? Do they give you the ads up front?
Yes.
Oh, before you fall asleep.
Of course they do. Like, what else are they going to do?
This episode is brought to you by silence.
So yeah, the sleep routine doesn't really work for me, and the sleep tracking I did try for a few days, and I found it to be very much inaccurate compared to say Autosleep or Sleep Plus Plus. It's very bland and generic at the moment. I have a feeling that it's going to be a lot better with future watch hardware, but right now it's it's basic sleep data that is not as accurate as third-party alternatives. And also you got to go into the health app. Like I just prefer to get my auto sleep notification in the morning and that's it. And I honestly don't know what else is new. I guess there's going to be like a bunch of app changes, just like iOS 14, like lots of enhancements and feature, addressing common feature requests. But I haven't noticed anything else major myself. I think it's fine. Maybe there's going to be a lot more, again, with future hardware. I honestly don't know what else is new. You don't have the pinned conversation view in messages on the watch, of course. And I have my usual problems with the watch. Like, I don't know, Shazam never works for me on the watch, for example. Like the other day I was at the beach and there was this really good song playing on the radio. And I was just like by the, there's like a coffee shop right there by the beach, and I was just waving my hand in the air like an idiot, trying to put the watch close to the speaker that was playing the song, and it wasn't picking up the song, and the owner looked at me with a funny face. I was like, I'm sorry, I just really like this song and I'm using the watch with Shazam. And she was like, like, look at this guy, look at this idiot, waving his arms around for Shazam on a watch. Yeah, so I don't know what else is new. I guess I should go back and read our own overview on Mac Stories, maybe. Do you guys know what else is new?
Not me.
Cycling in maps. So yes, this also doesn't work because one, there's no cycling support for maps in Italy, and two, don't ride a bicycle in Rome unless you want to die.
That's probably why they don't support it.
But also it's not supported. So, you can share watch faces. I think this is going to be pretty cool. I totally forgot about this because I don't have anybody to share a watch face with, but it's potentially interesting to, not because I don't have any friends, but because I don't have any friends running the watchOS 7 beta.
The social aspect of the sharing and the fact that they thought about that, I think is the best, is the most well thought out part of it.
I mean, when has Apple ever fumbled the ball with social stuff?
Well, the good thing is they didn't try and create their own Apple Watch social network, right?
What would they call it?
Watch me.
Timely.
Timely is a very good name.
Time.ly.
TikTok. Come on, TikTok. That's good, right? Come on.
Other new things that I should have mentioned. Dance workouts. It's going to be cool for Sylvia, however, not for me. Oh, yeah, this is very nice. Something that I had noticed a couple of days ago, actually. You get a notification on your phone when your watch is fully charged, which is really nice, especially for multi-watch users like myself.
Right. They did that because of the sleep tracking, right?
Yes. So maybe I should try again sleep tracking in a couple of betas, see if the situation improves. I was really not impressed. But I did try with beta 1. Or 2, either beta 1 or 2. So it was very early on in the process. I tried wind down on my phone and I realized, this is basically like a fancier version of bedtime, which is an existing feature. So they basically took that and added these winding down shortcuts that doesn't really work for me. I like of all things that I have a routine for in my life, I don't want to have a routine for sleeping. And I'm sorry, it's probably bad for me. I know that, and etc. But it is what it is. And hand washing, really not impressed.
That is something that I expect will be refined before the release version, though, right? Like, I reckon maybe try it out again before the shipping version. Like I would hope and expect they would tighten that up.
I want to try again sleep tracking, and I want to try again for sure the hand washing reminder.
Yeah.
And I want to play around. So I guess if you're working on watchOS 7 betas, please get in touch, because I really want to try the new complication stuff and sharing watch faces. I think of all features, like besides shortcuts, complications and sharing faces, I am super curious about, especially for the potential of, like, you know how on the newsletter we share home screens by readers, and I think it would be pretty cool to share watch faces by readers and actually make them so that you can tap a link and install the watch face. I think that's something. That's the best part, and something that you cannot do with the iPhone. It would be cool if you could share your home screen.
No, I mean it would be too difficult to do with an iPhone.
Yeah,
right?
I guess so.
I think the thing that works really well about the Apple Watch implementation, for what I've looked into, is that when you go through the process, it prompts you to install the required applications to get everything if you don't have them all. And I just think that's just genius. Like, just really is very, very clever.
Anything else on Beta Land?
I've installed Big Sur on an external drive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I can confirm everything I said. I think it looks beautiful. The icons, most of them are really nice. And I think it looks very, very pretty. But I don't have anything else to say. I think message is super nice that it's now like a real app instead of whatever it used to be.
There's something so good about that sentence which will upset so many people.
It's a real app coming from the iPad.
No, I know what you mean. But the thing is, like, it's now Catalyst. Like that's what.
That's why I said a real app. Like, all the words I use are there for a reason.
No words out of place.
Wow.
No subtext is left unconsidered. Anyway, yes, Big Sur looks stunning. I think it generally, like, it's the first time that I'm excited for anything Mac related. So I will tell you, I've purchased an external drive just because I wanted to use Big Sur. So, big commitment, you might say.
Big Sur commitment.
Big Sur commitment. But yeah, that about concludes my tour of watchOS 7 and Big Sur. That's all you need to know. No need for reviews. Just listen to this segment in September, ideally October, and you're gonna be fine. That's all you need to know.
Ideally October.
Nothing. Ideally October. Like, I was reading through, there's this thread happening on Twitter today between Gruber and Rambo and some other people, and how Gruber at some point said maybe the fact that they said that the iPhones are going to be a few weeks later, maybe it also suggests that the software is behind. And I really wish that I could, like, I really want that to be true. Like, I keep thinking that it would be super nice to have until early October.
We're going to have this conversation every week.
And right? I'm going to be so disappointed.
Federico, it would be lovely if it was true. But you can't live your life thinking that.
I know, but imagine the thrill, right? The thrill of the promise. You know, the adrenaline.
You know that meme of, like, the arm with the goosebumps?
What makes you feel like this?
Yeah, and for Federico,
release.
It's just iOS 14 is coming in October. You should tweet that. That's a funny tweet.
Oh, that's a very funny tweet. I saw somebody in my timeline retweeting, like, quote tweeting a tweet yesterday with that picture. I'm gonna find it and do my version of it. Very good idea, Michael. Thank you.
My version, but yeah, it can also be your version.
Your version. Right, it's a collab. Let's just say it's a collab. Okay.
It's a collab.
Okay.
Yeah. We collabed.
This episode of Connected is brought to you by ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN lets you access the internet as if you're from a different country. So Netflix has different shows and movies available depending on where you are in the world. And with ExpressVPN, you can unlock thousands of new shows and movies from streaming libraries around the globe. There are hundreds of VPNs out there, but ExpressVPN is ridiculously fast, meaning you can stream everything in HD quality with zero buffering. ExpressVPN is available on every device, phones, laptops, tablets, and even your TV. It works with many streaming services, including Netflix, Amazon Prime, BBC iPlayer, YouTube, and more. And you can choose to be from almost 100 different countries. It's so simple to use. Just fire up the app, change the location, and hit connect. I've been using ExpressVPN for a long time now, and they're not joking about the speed. So many other VPNs I've used in the past slow down your traffic. It's really noticeable that you're surfing through a VPN, and that is not the case with ExpressVPN. Go to expressvpn.com/connected, and you'll get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN for free. That's expressvpn.com/connected. Our thanks to ExpressVPN for the support of the show and Relay FM.
I have another question for you both. As today I seem to keep thinking about things that I want to ask you features you use. Do either of you use the messages announcing via AirPods feature?
Oh, no.
You don't
No.
use that? Okay.
I just turned it on a couple of weeks ago.
Wow, really?
I was out on a bike ride and someone texted me and it was important and I missed it. And so I've turned it on. I really only use my AirPods at this point when I'm exercising. I don't wear them around the house or anything. And so I find that if I'm on a bike ride or working out that I'd like to hear those. And the trick is to mute your busy group threads, like the one I'm in with the two of you and John. And so if someone needs to get a hold of me, it will announce it. It just makes a little noise and, quietly talks to you and you can respond. I have found that I really like it, actually.
Well, you say that the group thread muting actually has like a fun little bug with that, which has been around for a while, so let's imagine you get two messages. One is from, say, me, and then one is from, say, Federico in the group thread. If you get them at the same time, it will announce them both, even if it's from a muted conversation. I have this happen quite a lot. So if I have like multiple message threads popping off at the same time, I will hear from all of them, even if you have it muted.
I haven't noticed that yet, but now I'm worried.
Which is very annoying. But I do use this feature. I kind of like it. I've been using it the whole time. I never turned it off. And then it's kind of like I'm wondering if I want to keep it on or not, which is why I wanted to see if you two were using it. Federico, you hate it or something? Not for you?
If I'm wearing AirPods, it's because I don't want to be disturbed by anybody. And I feel like if it's an emergency, you're just going to call me on the phone. I don't think anybody with an emergency is going to text me. And there's only
I don't do it for emergency reasons. I just have it on and see what happens.
So if I'm wearing AirPods, it's because I really wanna because I wanna chill, or because I'm working out and I'm listening to a podcast or music, or I'm doing chores around the house and again I'm listening to music or podcasts. And so I don't enjoy having the audio be interrupted by Siri, reciting a message. Because I'm just gonna pick up the phone and look at it myself. I think it's faster, and I just don't enjoy the interruption of audio.
Okay.
Do you use it? Okay. Do you like it?
Well, that's just what I'm saying. Like I do, and then I also don't. Sometimes funny things happen, which I enjoy. Like Adina texted me today, "Oh no!" with an exclamation mark. And Siri said, "Oh no!" And I was like, just like that. And I was like, "Oh, thanks, Siri." And it was just, it's kind of funny to hear some of the ways that Siri tries to pronounce or announce things. And it's like for most of the time where I am wearing AirPods, I mostly do want that. Like if I'm doing chores, then I would like to have the messages read to me, or if I'm like commuting, I would like to have the messages read to me. I don't respond ever, but I do like via Siri, because you can respond via Siri, right? Like I never do that, but like I find it fine to hear them. But I'm not. It's just kind of like the jury's still out for me with this feature, so I was wondering how you two felt about it. Now I know.
I'm still trying to look for that tweet, by the way.
Yeah.
I think I have no idea. Yes, the goosebumps. I have no idea who shared it. So here's where I'm at. Real-time follow-up. I have no idea how I shared it. However, I have an idea for how to find it. But I'm going to need your and our audience's input. So my idea is I use an advanced Twitter search to filter the people I follow and the twitter.com URL. So that in that way, I will find tweets that were quoting other tweets. Right? However, this is not working because I'm not finding the tweet. So I must be missing some filters along the way. Maybe minimum retweets is an idea because it was a meme. So maybe this is the way to go.
I have no idea how to help you with this.
This seems like something for the Discord. They can find it, I'm sure.
I have a very specific tweet in mind. And I'm not finding it with filters on twitter.com. And I think I've seen it in the past 2 days. I think it was yesterday.
Yeah, I know I've seen it. This is what made me think of it. So we both follow somebody who did this.
We both follow somebody who did this. Okay. Well, if I find it, I will let you know in real time on the show.
You.
Yeah.
So next week is Relay FM's 6th birthday. To celebrate on Tuesday at 11:30 Eastern, that is the 18th of August, Tuesday, August 18th, 11:30 a.m. Eastern, Myke and I will be doing a stream on the Relay Twitch channel, answering your questions. So you can tweet with the hashtag RelayQA or use the command !RelayQA in the Discord. And they'll go in the spreadsheet, and we're going to pick some of those and talk about that. We will also be sharing some exciting news on that stream, so be sure to tune in. It'll be up on YouTube once we're done streaming, and keep an eye on Twitter. We'll be reminding people as we get closer to this, but it'll be fun to see each other and stream for a little while.
Yeah, so like these are kinds of questions you want to know about what's going on at Relay FM. If you kind of want to ask us big picture questions, small picture questions, medium picture questions, history questions, all that kind of stuff.
History picture is what you're saying? Medium picture, history picture?
History pictures, any kind of picture related question or non-picture related question about kind of what we're up to here at Relay FM as we celebrate yet another year around the sun.
Sure.
Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's correct, isn't it? You go around the sun once a year.
That's how yours work.
As I said it, I was like, oh God, did I say it wrong? No, that's how it works.
I've recently discovered that one of my friends is a flat earther. Yes. So, yeah, I felt dirty myself. Yeah. So,
how much of a flat earther?
Oh, really much. Also, well, it all started because the same person is a COVID conspiracy.
Of course
theorist.
they are.
Of course they are, right?
Of course
and
they
then
are.
we went from there. So.
Just pause. If you don't know about this phenomenon, episode 13 of Ungeniused is about flat Earth societies, where because Stephen writes the scripts, like the outlines, Stephen, I believe, made me portray the role of a flat Earther on that episode. Underscore found the Goosebump tweet.
How?
Of course. Because it's underscore. Underscore can find anything.
How?
He probably put all of Twitter into a YouTube video and then transcribed it.
Oh, thank you. And
Underscore can find literally anything. It's one of his many, many, many special skills. Anyway, what was I saying before that? Oh, about flat earthers. All right, so I want to know, Federico, do you try and argue with this person?
No. Because
it does feel kind of pointless, right?
I tried when the conversation began with the COVID-19 argument, and I tried for a few minutes there, and then as soon as this person started basically saying things like, "Oh, don't you know that the government is controlling us and COVID is like a plan for big pharma?" You know, the usual stupid things. I checked out of the conversation there. I was like, okay, sure. And then he started saying like, "Oh, don't you know that like other things that they're lying to us?" For example, like he literally said, "How can you know that the Earth is not flat?" And he started saying things like, "Have you ever been in space? Like, can you actually personally confirm that it's a globe?" And now at the point, you just gotta be like, "Okay, sure, you have a point taken. I'm not an astronaut, so please disregard centuries of science, but sure, your theory is correct." There really isn't a good way to deal with discovering that a friend of yours is a conspiracy theorist. That's what I've learned. It really, to a certain degree, it really feels like you've lost a person there, at least for me. Like it really feels like it's not like obviously like that person died, but it really sucks to. But part of them did, right? Yeah. It really sucks to discover that a friend of yours thinks and believes such things, that the Earth is flat, that COVID-19 does not exist, that chemotherapy is a scam. Like, you know, it's like part of them dies with that belief. And so, yeah, it sucks. I can tell you personally that it sucks.
If you bury somebody who's a flat earther and you dig too deep, they just fall through the disc. I mean,
they
that's
fall
bad.
through the disc, and you know they believe that at the end, like there's no poles. There's like a giant ice wall at the end of the disc. Yeah.
The giant ice wall is my favorite part.
And when you climb, nobody's ever climbed over the wall. I guess if you do, you're gonna fall off. So, yeah.
All right. So Tuesday, August 18th, 11:30 a.m. #RelayQA, !RelayQA in the Discord. We have some announcements to make too. Please join us.
Yep. It'll be fun.
Let's check in on your review, Federico. So we are now basically the middle of August. iOS could be out in as little as 2 weeks. Or as many as 12 weeks.
What? Well, if it's out in 2 weeks, I'm screwed big time.
It's out September 2nd.
Well, you're going to know, though, right? You're going to have a GM and you're going to have developers submitting apps. Like, it's not like it's just going to happen.
Yeah, that's a good point. They will at least still say, like, you know, developer start your engines
1 week in advance, we are going to get at least 1 week.
Was it with 13 they gave people like a weekend? Or maybe it was with Catalina. There was some recent update recently. They were like, it's coming out Monday, release your apps. And it was a Friday. Maybe it was Catalina.
Yeah, maybe it was Catalina. No, with 13, they did the thing where they split it in 2 releases.
That's
13
right.
and 13.1. And
what
13.1. Yeah. iPadOS was actually 13.1. And then they gave us a date, something like September 30th for 13.1. And then a couple of days after, they changed their mind and they'll be like, oh no, it's actually coming September 24th or something like that. Like, it was all over the place. So, okay, the review. I think I'm about halfway through, honestly. As I mentioned before, it's been going slower than usual. Again, you can listen to the pre-show to sort of get a context around that. However, I feel good about the fact that the most challenging chapters actually, I have done up front. And so It makes me feel good to know that I've done the introduction, which I always struggle with, and home screen. So home screen includes widgets and the app library and all that stuff. And I'm basically done with design as well. I think as soon as I'm done with the iPadOS chapter, I really feel like it's all gonna be much easier from there, because then I'm gonna have to write about shortcuts and apps. And shortcuts, I feel like it's gonna be really easy this year because there aren't that many new actions to write about. And the apps chapter is gonna be basically just write about all the new features in every single app.
Because I would imagine a lot of the things in shortcuts you would maybe cover in design.
Very good point. Some of them I do.
So the shortcuts chapter itself probably isn't that big, even though a lot happened. Because again, it's like, as well, a lot of the stuff that is really good about shortcuts this year, it's building on what was started last year.
Exactly. So I'm gonna start iPadOS tomorrow, the iPadOS chapter tomorrow, and once I'm done with that, I'm gonna feel a lot better because I feel like shortcuts apps and the conclusion, those are easily chapters that I can do in late August and early September, because it's just a matter of like, there's no big overarching theme, right? In like messages as a bunch of new features, and what's new in Mail, what's new in Safari, and the fact that I've been able to deal with these bigger themes now, so compact UI and widgets and what's happening on iPad, that's the meaty part of the review. So a bit slower than usual, however, feeling good about it. And I'm assuming that, if this is coming out in mid-September as usual, I have about a month, and I'm feeling pretty good about that, especially because it looks like I'm going to be at home early September, like I'm not going anywhere. I have to stay home, so that works well for me. If it's late September, then great. And if it's early October, even better. So, but let's just say that I have about a month, maybe like 35 days, right? In previous years, it launched around September 15th or 16th. So I will make it happen if it's mid-September. If it's any earlier than that, I will not be ready, and people are going to have to wait. Otherwise, like in terms of the process itself, I've been using MindNode a lot. I mentioned this before, I think. I've been using these visual tags, which is a new feature in MindNode, basically to tag different sections of the map. I'm using a mind map to manage all the different chapters and sections and subsections of the review. And I have these tags in MindNode that mean different things. There's a tag called Write Later, which, as the name says, it's something that I cannot write about right now, such as setup and performance, because I want to write about that stuff at the very end of the beta process. There's another tag called Tidbits, which is like these small and hidden features that I want to make sure I can collect in a single place this year. So I've been using this new feature of MindNode 7 a lot. And everything else, I'm still using IA Writer. I plan on using the content blocks feature of IA Writer again.
That's where you can bring in like images,
yes.
Right?
Yeah, that's right. Content blocks allow you to embed local image attachments in a markdown document. And so that when you preview the document, it looks like you actually have uploaded images inside the HTML, but you actually don't. You have a reference to a local file in there, which is these two features, content blocks and my custom preview theme in IA Writer. They are the reason why I'm not using Ulysses.
Because if I remember correctly, that custom theme that you have, I think I heard this in episode. It looks like the template for the review itself, doesn't it?
I have two custom preview templates in IA Writer. One that looks exactly like the regular website, and the other that looks exactly like the iOS review. So it's really helpful to confirm that the review is looking fine before I even put it on the website. And these two features are the reason why I'm not using Ulysses. I have considered Ulysses again, especially because they now have this super handy feature. In the sidebar, they have an outline view where you can easily jump around between sections of a document. And as you can imagine, like these longer chapters, they're like 8,000 words. It really would be convenient to have an outline of all the sections and jump around to those sections with just a single tap. But that's available in Ulysses now. I know that apps like Drafts have the same feature. IA Writer does not. However, in considering
even Google Docs has that.
Yeah. However, like in thinking about this, like, am I willing to give up my custom preview and my content blocks based system because of an outline mode? And I think the answer is no, because I think those features are really, really important to me.
I have a question from Matt in the Discord, which is a good question. How do you handle the content blocks thing when it comes to publishing on WordPress? Like what happens to the content block?
Good question. So what I do is a couple of things are happening. So in terms of the text itself, I have a document called 0-table of contents. The 0 is necessary because in IE Writer, if I sort alphabetically, it sits at the very top of my document list. That table of contents has itself content blocks for all the chapters. And here's where the trick comes in. I have different versions of the table of contents depending on what version of the review I am compiling. I have a table of contents for the website, and I have another table of contents for the ebook version for Club Mac Stories members. So different sections, like different pieces of syntax, go in each different table of content. For the images, what I do is I have a script. This is get ready because this is going to be really, really geeky. So the beauty of IA Writer is that it uses iCloud Drive. Because it uses iCloud Drive and because it supports content blocks, it means that I can save screenshots as local references in iCloud Drive inside the IA Writer /iOS review /images subfolder. The real sleight of hand here is to use Scriptable, so the JavaScript utility by Simon Stroving in the as sort of like the middleman in this process. So once I have the draft of the review ready, all my images are content blocks references. None of them has been uploaded. I've created the script that lets me select a line of text. So it lets me select this path of the content block. I run the script, and thanks to bookmarks, Scriptable can actually look into that IA Writer subfolder. So Scriptable sees the line of text, which is a file path, goes to that file path, takes the local image, uploads the image to my CDN, turns that public HTTPS link to the markdown image syntax, and all of this happens like 4 seconds, right? And then I can, in the document, the content block path is still selected. So all I need to do is Command V, and I paste, and the content block path is replaced by a public HTTP URL to the image.
Right.
So
yeah. there's kind of whilst there's a lot of automation happening here, which is amazing, there's still a manual part of it where you're replacing each link manually. Is that right? Like every content block? But you want to review them anyway, I'm sure. But yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I was about to say this is on purpose because when I run the script, it brings up really quickly a quick look preview that lets me just double check. Okay, yes, this is the right image.
Nice. Mm-hmm. That's clever.
Yeah. So like last year, I timed myself. I've been able to go through, I think, 250 local image references in like 45 minutes. Really, really awesome automation. I created this automation, like it's one of those examples of like, oh, this is really complicated. Why would you do this sort of automation? Just use a Mac, blah, blah, blah. I created this automation 2 years ago, and it served me well, literally thousands of times for all the big stories that I've done. Beyond the tablet and the iOS 13 review, and there was another story that I used it for. I think also the iOS 12 review, maybe actually. So yeah, created this automation years ago, and it's still working, and it's still awesome. So yeah, that's how that works behind the scenes. And the final thing I want to say, I guess, DevonThink. We talked about it before. All my research and PDF documents were stored in there. I made a good call. I'm really happy with it. I use DevonThink as a database for PDFs saved from apple.com. And I used Highlights, which is a PDF annotation utility, on the iPad to go into that DevonThink location, because Highlights uses the Files document browser. And I just annotated with Highlights and exported my annotations with Highlights. So that worked really well. And I've been using the Mac storage shortcuts icons in MindNode. So I know that like those were made for shortcuts, but I figured, they also kind of work in MindNode as a way to give a bit of visual flair to the map. And so all my chapters, they have a specific shortcuts icon, which works because both the icon and the map have a solid white background. So those icons really blend in quite well. And my only issue right now is as I mentioned, the slower than usual progress. However, I think everything will be fine. And the fact that the betas are really buggy, especially beta 4. It's not great. And so been going kind of slow on that front as well.
Stephen, have you started or decided on a Big Sur review?
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is, instead of a wide-reaching review, I'm going to do what I did with macOS 10 Yosemite and write a review basically focused on the design of the OS. So Yosemite was the first version that gave us the look we have now, the kind of flat look. And I was able to really dive into that and talk about a lot of the features in detail as far as the design. I kind of leave the rest of it alone. Now, I did it then because my wife and I just had our third child, and we launched Relay FM like the same fall. It was the fall of 2014 was very hectic. But in thinking about Big Sur, what it'll be remembered for is the design and eventually the Apple Silicon stuff, but I kind of am treating that as a separate thing. And so that's my plan. So I do have some notes and some screenshots kind of slowly building reference material, and I hope to start writing relatively soon. The first couple betas, they changed some things. In fact, the most current beta, they just changed the way dark mode and vibrancy work together. So I've been holding off a little bit, but I feel like if we get another beta down and it's the same as this one, then I will probably start in on this. But it's not as wide reaching as definitely as a full OS review, and shouldn't be nearly as long. So that's my plan as it stands.
I think a design review makes the most sense for this
it does.
one anyway, because it's a lot. And even if you wrote a regular review, you'd spend most of your time talking about the design anyway. So,
Yeah, and I mean, my plan is to cover the Apple Silicon stuff when it happens. And so I feel like in a Big Sur review saying something like, oh, and it will run iPad apps, like, we don't know what that's like yet. I can deal with that when it happens.
Yeah, it makes more sense to know that you'll be writing some other big stuff, kind of maybe review kind of size later on in the year, right? And so you kind of parcel it out a little bit.
Yeah, so that's my plan with all those factors. So yeah, I'm excited about it. I think it's an exciting year for the Mac. It's just one that is going to be really busy between now and the end of the year. This episode of Connected is brought to you by Mint Mobile, the folks who can cut your wireless bill to $15 a month with their futuristic approach to wireless. This is really easy. You get a SIM card, a bunch of stuff in the mail, pop it in your phone, go to the website, give it the activation number, and within a few minutes, I had Mint Mobile up and running on my Google Pixel 3a, the Android phone I keep. Really easy to do and super cheap. So if you're still on one of those big wireless providers, you have to ask what you're paying for. Expensive retail stores, inflated prices, hidden fees. They have a lot of opportunity to take advantage of paying customers. And that's where Mint Mobile comes in. They provide the same premium network coverage that you're used to, but at a fraction of the cost because everything is online. They save on retail locations and overhead and pass those savings directly to you, making it easy to cut your wireless bill down to just $15 a month. Every plan comes with unlimited nationwide talk and text, and you can stop paying for unlimited data that you're probably never ever going to use actually. So you can choose between plans of 3, 8, or 12 gigabytes of 4G LTE data. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep the same phone number along with all your existing contacts. Just ditch your old wireless bill and start saving today with Mint Mobile. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get it shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/connected. That's mintmobile.com/connected. Go there now and cut your wireless bill to $15 a month. mintmobile.com/connected. Our thanks to Mint Mobile for their support of the show and Relay FM. So to round out this episode, we're going to get into sort of a weird topic. It's one that's been on my mind for a little while, and I thought it would be fun to talk about on the show. And that is looking at Apple's strategy specifically around press releases. So I've been on a bit of a vision quest through the Apple Newsroom archives. They have everything going back to 2000 on their website, which for Apple is like ancient history. Right? I can't believe it goes back so far. You can find even older stuff on things like the Wayback Machine. But I wanted to look at a few things. I wanted to look at the number of releases per year and why those numbers have changed and kind of what we think about what Apple currently views as worthy of a press release, because I think that's really the heart of this is what do they see as being worth that space and people's attention. So
one might say you've channeled your inner Jason Snell to do this.
Yes, I've made a chart. That'll be in the show notes, and it's in the Discord right now, looking at the number of Apple press releases per year from 2000 to 2019. So 19 years worth of history. Can't do 2020, obviously, because we're still in the middle of it. So, and I should say a couple like meta notes. The chart does not include separate Apple TV press releases. That's like its own separate press website. And I just want to look at Apple itself. I didn't really know how to like work in the Apple TV stuff. And so I thought it was simpler just to kind of leave that off the table. And just for...
If Apple decide to leave it out, then you can leave it out, right?
Yeah. If it was on their main website, I would have counted it.
Well, because as well, some TV press releases do get newsroom releases if they're big enough. Mm-hmm. And some just stay on the Apple TV one, so it could be a bit peculiar.
2020 so far, so to have that number out there, as of today, only 41 releases in 2020. So if you look at this chart, 2019 was 136, an all-time high. So they are a little behind this point in 2020, but we can get to that. So there's some other numbers just to kind of lay some groundwork. 2012 to 2015 was a bit of a low spot with an average of about 51 and a half releases out each year, so about one a week on average. That doesn't mean there is one a week. WWDC, there's 8 in a day, right? It's just on average about one a week.
So that's how averages work.
No, it was more like I was wondering, it seemed high, like the numbers seemed high, but I didn't think that like on a day that Apple does one thing, they frequently do like five things.
They're very lumpy in their releases.
Yeah.
2019, like I said, had 136, an average of 2.6 per week. Again, that doesn't mean every week had 2.6. They're still lumpy. I had kind of thought that the early years would be smaller, but that's actually not true. So 2000 to 2006 had an average of 89 a year. And then in 2007, the year of the iPhone, Apple published 75. So they were...
There's a weird logic to that, though. Because in 2000 to 2006, Apple were maybe a little more thirsty for press coverage. So, like, they would maybe put a release out about, like, everything, right? Which they might not do now. I don't know.
Maybe. So you can look at this graph again. It's in the show notes, and go check it out. So it's been up and down over the years, but in the current era, it's been up and up and up. So there are some things that you look at this and make some assumptions that I think we need to look at. So I think the biggest assumption is, well, Apple has more press releases because Apple's a bigger company now. And that is partially true, but it's not a hard and fast rule. That quiet time from 2012 to 2015, Apple had more products than they did in 2002. Right? They had the iPhone and the iPad. At the beginning of those years, the iPods were still kicking around, kind of. More Macs. They had more products, but it was quieter for some reason. We're going to get into maybe some of my reasons why I think it was. In the early years, though, it was really focused on products. So software releases. Hey, there's a new version of this or that software that Apple makes. Mac hardware, of course, will get press releases. Early services like iTools and .Mac show up in here. And then events. So WWDC, Macworld Expo. There used to be several Macworld events a year, and often Steve Jobs or others would speak at several a year. They all get announced in these press release archives. And then, especially early on, a lot of corporate information. So quarterly calls, changes to the board of directors, which there were a lot of in Jobs' early years. And sort of oddly, especially in the early 2000, 2001, 2002, multiple lawsuits that Apple won against other companies for infringing on their designs or the technology or something like that. So a lot of sort of corporate-y stuff in those early couple of years. Over time, iPod showed up, iTunes Music Store showed up. They're just all over the place in the early to mid-2000s. There are a ton of press releases of, hey, we've sold X number of iPods, X number of songs on the iTunes Music Store. And older products began to fade. You don't see a lot of WebObjects and AppleWorks press releases in the mid-2000s, but you do see things like iMovie and iDVD and eventually iLife and iWork sort of come to prominence in the mid to late 2000s. And you also see the growth of Apple retail. So we see a lot of that now. That's one thing I want to talk about in the current era, but even in the early to mid-aughts, a lot of new Apple stores opening up. Hey, we've made this much money in retail stores, this many visitors. We're in this new country for the first time. A lot of that in those early days as well. As we move on a little bit to 2012 to 2015, looking back, this was kind of a quiet couple of years for Apple, right? It's the first years under Tim Cook. There was no, quote, new product until the Apple Watch was announced.
Right.
The Mac hardware cycle has slowed down a lot. Now, the iPhone and iPad were humming along in these years, but this is the time frame where a lot of people, especially towards the end of it, were complaining that Apple had its eye off the ball with Mac releases, right? You don't have a lot of new stuff. You have the trash can Mac Pro sitting there unchanged starting in 2013. MacBook Pro's falling behind. Mac Mini's getting worse. Kind of a down time for the Mac, and I think that's reflected in the number of releases they had.
I like the thought of the Apple Watch kind of would have changed things because it's just like another product, right? So that it will increase the averages because you get at least 1 or 2 or 3 more a year every time you introduce a new product line, right? Like that's, more probably multiple.
And the chat room points out, Kate, they said that, what happened in 2009, and it may be that is sort of recession, post-recession in the United States. So Apple was maybe moving a little bit more slowly or being more judicious about what it would elevate to a press release. I think that's definitely possible. And then we get into the current era, so 2016 and up, and we see, I think that there are 2 big changes. One, features of software start gaining their own press releases. So the last several years, we've had press releases about new emoji, things in the Health app, health studies, Siri features. There was one last year or maybe earlier this year about Siri and the Super Bowl, like individual features or components of software.
Was that the Rock commercial?
I don't know, maybe.
Siri and the Super Bowl? I think it was the one. Do you remember that? Siri and the Rock video?
We all know you love The Rock.
Everyone loves The Rock.
I think that commercial, I want to believe that The Rock either retweeted or replied to John Voorhees on Twitter.
I think he did. I think that's true. Yeah, I think John tweeted about it and The Rock loved it. He was super happy about the tweet. I'm going to find that tweet.
I will find it. Hold on, please.
I found it. It includes the gif of Eddie Q dancing.
Really?
Does it?
Yeah, that was.
How? Where is it?
I'll put it in the show notes in Discord.
John
said John quote tweeted The Rock and said, "I can't wait to do it." And then The Rock quote tweeted John and said, "You better get ready to groove."
When you watch watch our new Apple commercial tomorrow.
Yeah. So that was the summer of 2017. So not the Super Bowl.
Okay.
That's amazing. Man, John. Way to go, John.
John Boris.
He's close personal friends with The Rock. So we see a lot of the feature stuff. We also see more coverage of the App Store. But I think a big change is Apple's public good initiative. So things like converting to green energy, other environmental projects Apple takes on, civil rights, all these sort of political or sociological things that Apple is doing. Some of those now end up in the press releases. And that's a very modern Apple thing. That's even in just the last few years, people like Lisa Jackson and others taking on a bigger role in the company. And I think it's great. I think that stuff should be given the same platform as, hey, we have new AirPods or a new iPad mini or whatever. Also seeing roundups. So WWDC used to be, 8 or 9 releases. Now they also do roundup releases. Like, here's everything that went down. They talk about reviews of their products. So the last couple of years they've had, hey, the new iPhone is out. These are what the reviewers were saying out as a press release. Stories about people how use their products. So they've really added softer stories to the Apple Newsroom over time. Not just, this is a new computer, this is how fast it is, but this is what we're doing out in the world or how our computers are used, etc. Now, I'm curious what you guys think about this. Like, do you think Apple does it too often? Do you think the balance is good? Any thoughts?
Well, I don't see most of the press releases, right? So, the only press releases that I ever see are the ones that, in a way, I want to know about. So, I don't follow the Apple Newsroom like I know Federico does.
Yeah, I have. It's the only alert I have in Apple News.
I wish it was just that. I follow the newsroom and I have notifications for that.
Yes, what I mean. It's not just I put it in RSS. No, it's if something gets published to Apple Newsroom, I think a siren goes off in Federico's
I follow a Twitter account just for those, and I have pushover alerts for it's a whole thing that I have going. Yeah.
So I don't really feel like I get a lot of the press releases, right? So they could put one out every day and it wouldn't make much of a difference to me, right? I just wouldn't notice unless it was something that is going to get shared. Or there might be a certain time where I'm checking the newsroom because I think something's going to happen, right? You get those weeks where it's oh, is this the week where they're going to do something new every day at 10 a.m., right? And so I'll check then. But most of the stuff, I don't see it. And to be honest, I don't really want to either, right? This is my strategy when it comes to any type of news of following the right sources so I just get the bubbled up information that I want. I don't want to read every press release Apple puts out, nor do I really want to read many of the press releases, right? Even the stuff that I'm interested in, it's very rare that I'll read the press release because I will go to the actual home of the thing, right? So if Apple put out a press release, this is new MacBook Pro, well, I'll go to the Mac the Mac page on their website and look at the product. You know what I mean? So it doesn't really. I'm pleased that they do it, so it's there if I need it. But I don't feel that connected to the Apple Newsroom, except for images for chapter artwork. I like it for that.
Most press releases I don't care about. A lot of them, because I also follow the Italian newsroom, right? So I'm exposed to 2 layers of press releases there.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them from the US, I really don't care about because they are about very US specific things that either we cannot use or we don't have here in Italy, or just an initiative that Apple is only doing in the United States. So personally speaking, I keep the notifications on and I still follow them all. Sometimes I've seen announcements, and in talking over Slack with John and Ryan, we went did that really need to be a press release? Sometimes they feel a little, over eager to share, maybe to hit the publish button on the newsroom. However, I will say that professionally speaking, so as as the person in charge of a website that writes about Apple, I appreciate the fact that Apple is now much more open in detailing all the things that they're doing, like all these initiatives that get press releases. Like, I think it's great because it allows us to have like official statements and numbers and stats that we can write about. And I think it's been really interesting to follow, like professionally speaking, like all these things that Apple is doing on the side, like the Everyone Can Code initiative, for example, that always gets a press release. I think it's been really fascinating to observe the evolution of that over the years. And I think having a place like the newsroom where they can share photos and they can share, they can be... I feel like the old press portal was just about like product releases. And I feel like the newsroom, because of the photography, because of the different design, I feel like that allows them to be much more open and to feature and highlight stories that maybe before they wouldn't have done. And so I think overall, like, again, professionally speaking, that's a positive. Personally speaking, sometimes I've gone, I don't really care personally. I think overall, even though some press releases, they feel like, this could have just been like a statement to a website or something. Overall, I will take the newsroom over the older system. I think even though the number has increased and it's become it's more high volume than before, I really like it though. I love the design, the notifications via Apple News. So I will take it over the older design, over the older page, and the older approach that it was strictly like either product based or Steve Jobs saying we sold 1 million iPhones in 40 days, something like that. So I love the more free form sort of approach. Maybe it's like a blog, which obviously I appreciate.
And to think, Federico, they do all of this without a named chief of
right, I know, right? Without a person that you can say, "Oh, that person is the head of PR." If only they gave us, because there must be, right? There must be somebody in charge.
Maybe they'll do it in early 2021. They don't need to do it any sooner than that, I don't think.
We just need a name. I just need you put your name out there. I got my point. We're all happy. You're happy because you've officialized the person in charge. I'm happy because that point will allow me to win the annual Rickies. It all works out.
That is not your Ricky, right? Like that is just your round one annual pick.
Sure, but that it's in Italy we have a saying. It says it's the sum that makes the total.
That's so just math.
But every single point counts. So it may be a single individual point, but it'll get me the win. I'm sure.
If you get that one single point, it will currently just tie you with me and Steven.
Look, you're gonna lose somehow. So
am I? I don't think I am.
Just wait. It's August.
Mm-hmm.
Soon it'll be September. And with that, it'll be the change of the seasons. And the tide will... Does the tide change? What does the tide do?
Turns.
The tide shifts. Turns. The tide will turn in my favor.
The tide doesn't turn.
That's the phrase.
It's a phrase.
No, you're thinking of the tables turn.
The tide, no.
The tide too. Look, in America, we have a saying, okay? And the tide turns.
This is not a phrase.
The turning
shifts.
The turning of the tides.
The tides, okay? Don't worry about it.
I don't know.
Just wait for the tide.
Okay, so like Googling say that the tide turns is a thing.
Oh, how the tables turn.
How the turntables.
How the turntables.
If you want to find links to everything we spoke about, head on over to the website, relay.fm/connected/307. While you're there, you can get in touch with an email, or you can become a member to enjoy an ad-free, extra-long version of every episode, including this one. If you have your calendar out, make a note for Tuesday, August 18th at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Catch Myke and I at twitch.tv/RelayFM. We're really excited about that. You can find us all on Twitter. Federico is there as Viticci, Viticci, and he's the editor-in-chief of MacStories.net. You can find Myke online as IMYKE, and Myke hosts a bunch of shows here on Relay FM. Myke, name one of the shows you host.
Just stay connected.
Connected.
So go check out Connected if you haven't heard that before. It's pretty good. The American, he never mispronunciates anything.
Oh
It's
my
really good.
God.
See, there
He
you go.
knows how the tides turn.
You said that word wrong in 2 different ways.
Yeah, well, please subscribe and leave a like. Whatever. Can you like podcasts?
You can.
You probably can somewhere. So
You take a picture of a thumbs up sign and mail it to us. That's how we know.
hit the bell icon.
Hit the
Smash
bell.
that bell icon. Hit
Smash
the bell. There
There
you go.
There's the actual bell.
You can follow me on Twitter as ISMH and find my writing about old computers and new computers at 512pixels.net. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Squarespace, ExpressVPN, and Mint Mobile. And until next time, guys, say goodbye.
Arrivederci.
Cheerio.
I bought the wheels.